So I see that the number of participants have steadied, so we will begin. So good morning, everyone. This is a Proposition 68 meeting on MacArthur Park, and this is meeting number 3. And today is Saturday, November 14th, 2020. This meeting is being hosted by the Los Angeles Department of Recreation and Parks in partnership with Council Member Gil Cedillo. And thank you for tuning in through our Zoom. We also have this live streamed on Facebook as well. And once the meeting is adjourned, we will upload this meeting on a YouTube page. So you can, share this with other, people, family, friends. And if they happen, because they missed the meeting, they can certainly use the comment function on YouTube to ask questions. And we will periodically check that page and answer their questions. So today's panelists include Luis Gonzalez, the Deputy Director of Community Organization from the Office of Council Member Gil Cedillo. We have Daryl Ford, Superintendent of Rec and Parks Planning, Construction, Maintenance. And we have Yumi Sangen, Management Assistant from Rec and Parks Grants Administration. I'm Stephen Tran, Senior Management Analyst from Rec and Parks Grants Administration. And we have Ligia Estrada, our translator from Barbier, who will be actually assisting Spanish speakers today. So just to give you an overview of today's meeting agenda. So first we'll have an introduction from CD1. I will then go over the Proposition 68 guidelines with you, share some of the results from the last round. And then Daryl Ford will go over an overview of the proposed scope of work. We'll have a questions and answers session after that. And then we will conclude with the survey. So first things first, Luis, would you like to provide an opening remark?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for Stephen and Daryl and Bill for hosting this workshop. I know that it's very important for everybody to give feedback about the Proposition 68 and about the improvements that MacArthur Park so much needs. Today, I would like to start by thanking everyone that they're taking their Saturday morning to be here and provide feedback. I would like to acknowledge Robin Livland, who is the president of the MacArthur Park Neighborhood Council, that is here, and we are looking forward to hearing her feedback in some of these elements. The council member Gil Cedillo is always been about safety. It's always been about creating green space and also, creating spaces for the families to gather and to actually, have a space for them to run, to walk, and to have family picnics. So with this, is something that is very important to our office. It's very important to the council member that we, find ways how we can improve the park so it can be safer, so it can have more amenities, and also that the families, they use it more often. So for this, this meeting today is super important because this is the way that you can, as a community member, as a community leader, you can provide us with the feedback that we need. So we can put together a plan, and Stephen and Daryl and Bill can create an application with the state that can be very successful, and hopefully we can get this grant. So with that, again, I would like to thank the Department of Recreation and Parks for doing this, and looking forward for all your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. So I'd just like to go over some meeting guidelines with you. So in your chat box, you should have a sign-in sheet link. We encourage you to sign in because your presence today means a lot for the grant proposal. Later on, we're going to have a question and answers session. So the way we do this is that you can post all your questions whenever you like in the chat box, and we will get to those questions during our questions and answers session later. We will also have a survey, and today's survey is actually a unique survey that we haven't rolled out before, and I'll go over that survey, and that survey will allow you to provide some ideas on what you'd like to see in this proposed project. And the survey link will be provided actually in the chat box. So why are we here? So we're here to inform you of this funding opportunity on this park project. We'd like to develop a project that's best suited for this funding opportunity, which is Prop 68. And we also want to engage the community in this process. So we want to hear your ideas and your feedback. And of course, this is a process-driven process. To give you an overview of this grant opportunity, so Prop 68 was approved in 2018 by 50% of the voters. And its objective is to create new parks and new recreation opportunities in critically underserved communities. And this community qualifies, as I will show you later on. This is actually round 4, which is the final round of Proposition 68. And we have $395 million available for this 4th and final round. Now, Proposition 68 is a competitive grant. And what that means is that funding is not guaranteed. So we will work to submit to the state a grant proposal with the budget, and the state will decide whether or not it wants to approve and provide the city of LA with a grant for this project. The maximum grant request per application is $8.5 million. So this application with its budget cannot request more than $8.5 million. All applications are due next March 12th, 2021. And this is actually an extension. Originally, the application was due on December 14th. So the state extended it by around 4 months. The project must be complete by 2025. And what that means is, should the city be successful in getting a grant from the state, our project must be complete by March of 2025. So we have, in a sense, less than 5 years if we are successful with this grant to complete the project. So what did we learn from the last round, which was last year? So last year, the city of Los Angeles submitted grant proposals to the state. And overall, because this is a statewide program, the state received 478 applications. And when you combine all the requests, all the requests total $2.3 billion. And the state had $255 million to give out. So the average grant request was $4.8 million, and the average grant that was received was 4.3. I'm sorry, 4.1. That little chat box got in the way. So yeah, so the average grant amount was 4.1 million. And so out of the 478 applications, 62 applications were awarded. Now, out of the 62 grant projects that were successful, 28 were to create new parks, 14 were for expansion of existing parks, and 20 were renovation projects. So this particular project for MacArthur Park would qualify as a renovation project. So in terms of eligibility, now all Prop 68 projects must be capital projects. So playgrounds, athletic fields, pathways, restrooms, public art, lighting, anything that's fixed and permanent, would be capital project. We have received inquiries as to whether recreational activities would qualify, or security services. And unfortunately, those are not eligible for funding. Now, in order to qualify, this application would have to meet one of these criteria. So either we have 3 acres of parkland or less for 1,000 people, or we have less than 56,982 household median income. So we met before in 2 occasions, on Wednesday, November 4th, and Tuesday, November 10th. And this is our 3rd meeting. And we're going to work with our staff and Luis actually to plan out more meetings. So in previous community meetings, in the last 2 community meetings, we have received a number of suggestions and concerns, both in response to the project and also in response to what is existing at this particular place and time. So we've received suggestions and concerns on the playground themes that were presented, on the automated restrooms that are being proposed, security and safety concerns, on recreational activities, on synthetic turf at the Levitt Pavilion and other surface material, on the lake quality improvements, which is actually being managed by the Bureau of Sanitation Public Works. So that would be a separate department that is currently managing that project. And we also heard about suggestions on improvements to the recreation center. So for this particular meeting, we have a new survey, and this survey is here to basically let you, be an agent for your community and provide us with ideas on some of these project scopes. So what you can do is provide us with ideas on playground themes, on landscape, both in location, on the lighting location, and also on what type of public art you'd like to see and where you'd like to see it. Just to give you an example of the questions that you'll find in our survey. For example, I mentioned with public art, these are some of the themes that you may select, or you may indicate another theme. So we will provide that link in the chat box for you to complete. And just circling back to the eligibility criteria. Now this park qualifies for under Prop 68 criteria because it has, you can see, less than that 3 acre per 1,000 people threshold. So we have 1.04 acres of park, per 1,000 people. And we also have way less than the 56,982 household medium income threshold. We have 32,448,000. So under both criteria, this application would qualify. So at this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Daryl Ford, our superintendent for planning, construction, and maintenance.
Thank you, Stephen. And hello, everybody, again, or hello. My name is Daryl Ford. As Stephen noted, I'm the superintendent for the planning, construction, and maintenance branch at Recreation and Parks. So today I'm going to walk through some of the scope elements that are proposed for our Proposition 68 application. And again, as Stephen noted earlier in the meeting, this is a discussion about some of the elements that the department is recommending for this application, but this is a conversation. We'd like to hear from you what your thoughts are, what your ideas are. Your input will help us shape this into a better application, because ultimately our goal is to make sure that when we submit an application to the state, it's reflective of the improvements and the amenities that the community would like to see at MacArthur Park, and that we believe would be amenities that the state would look favorably towards funding. So just to set the stage for this conversation, just a very slide before you, the presentation, just a very brief summary of all the wonderful amenities that are available currently at MacArthur Park. As everyone knows, of course, we have the MacArthur Park Lake, which we'll talk about a little bit more in just a moment. We have our community center at MacArthur Park. We have the Levitt Pavilion, where I'm sure many of us have enjoyed performances in the past. We have the synthetic meadow. That's the synthetic surface that's on the north side of the field, or the park that I know is sometimes used for soccer and other athletic activities, but it's just called the synthetic meadow. MacArthur Park has two playgrounds, again, both on the north side of the park. As you know, there's one just immediately west of the community center building, and then one just west of the synthetic meadow. We'll talk a little bit about the playgrounds in a moment as well. And MacArthur Park has a number of public restroom buildings. And again, we'll talk a little bit about that, because restrooms are something that we are really focused on as a department, that we think this may be a good opportunity to make some well-needed improvements to the restroom facilities at MacArthur Park. And then, of course, MacArthur Park is crisscrossed with walking paths and benches and picnic areas. Again, lots of places for people to walk and sit, and to have an opportunity to enjoy being in the park with your friends and your family. And last but not least is all the public art. MacArthur Park is a city historic cultural monument, and it is filled with multiple public art installations across the park. As I'm sure everyone knows, from the MacArthur Park statue to Prometheus to the clock to the Otis Gray statue, there's a lot of public art that's in MacArthur Park, and it's well known for that. So always want to highlight that, because the public art has been an important part of the history of MacArthur Park, and the Proposition 68 grant gives us the opportunity to add and build upon that, because public art is one of the components of the application, and one of the elements that the state wants us to see us include in an application. So again, it's great that MacArthur Park already has a history of public art. We'd love to build on that as a part of this grant application. So again, we're looking for some input from you in the community today about some of those different elements. So just moving forward, wanted to talk just briefly about a couple of projects that are ongoing at MacArthur Park. And this is mainly just to set the stage to give everyone who's listening to this meeting an idea of some of the improvements that we're already doing, because we want to make sure that our grant application is looking towards some of the things that are currently unfunded in the park. But we did want to make sure everyone was aware that we are moving forward with a couple of improvements in the park. So before you are just two of those major improvements that are coming soon to MacArthur Park. The first one is the replacement of what we call the lower playground that's just west of the Recreation Center building. So again, if you're familiar, this is the playground that's located just west of the Rec Center building and sort of northeast of the Levitt Pavilion. This is the one that's very close to 6th Street. So we actually already have funding from the Community Development Block Grant Program to help fund the replacement of that playground. And that's a project that is currently in the early parts of the design process. And we will be having separate meetings with the community to share some imagery and some concepts for that. But I did want to let everyone in this meeting know that we do already have funding to replace that playground. So that's an enhancement that'll be coming soon to MacArthur Park. The second thing I wanted to highlight here is the MacArthur Park Lake Rehabilitation Program. As Stephen had noted earlier, this is a project that is going to be managed by the city's Department of Sanitation and Environment. So the city was successful in receiving approximately $20 million in funding from the Safe Clean Water Program. That is a program that voters voted on a couple of years ago, a stormwater program. And the city was successful in receiving, like again, I said, approximately $20 million in funding. which will be used for MacArthur Park Lake rehabilitation. So just very briefly, the MacArthur Park Lake Rehabilitation Project includes water quality improvements to protect public health. It includes the development of a sustainable park water supply, and it will incorporate a number of nature-based solutions like bioswales and bioinfiltration and wetland enhancements to help treat and manage the stormwater. So it's a project that'll really benefit the lake, and it'll provide a lot of other enhancements for the overall recreational experience in MacArthur Park. So beyond those water quality and water treatment elements that have been included part of that project, it will include some improvements in the park, but things that are really focused on, environmental education, sustainability, wetland restoration. So the project will, as it moves forward again, will bring a number of well-needed improvements to MacArthur Park Lake, but also will bring improvements and enhancements to the areas in and around the lake. So like the lake edges and some of the other areas like that will also be taken care of as a part of that project. But that's just a little preview of that. Like I said, again, that's a project that's going to be led by our Department of LA Sanitation and the Environment, and they'll be reaching out, I know soon, early next year, to talk more with the community about that. But wanted to make sure that in this meeting we brought that up so that everyone here participating knows that the city has been working hard to find funding for all the necessary needed improvements in MacArthur Park. And we want our Proposition 68 grant, whatever we end up submitting to the state, to really build upon that and start to tackle some of the other areas in the park that don't really have funding at this point. So going forward, this before you right here is a summary of the proposed scope of work for the Proposition 68 application. So I'll just go through this briefly, but I want to make sure everyone knows, again, today, this meeting, and like the other two meetings we had, this is about getting input on the proposed scope to let us know if we are looking at the right elements, if we have considered and prioritized the right areas of the park. And again, as was discussed in an earlier slide, we have gotten a lot of good feedback already and some additional ideas to potentially include in that scope or to modify the scope that we have. But walking through the major elements that we're proposing as a part of this project. So we are proposing one, the renovation of one of the entrances of MacArthur Park at the corner of Wilshire and Alvarado. This would be the southwest corner of Wilshire and Alvarado. So as I'm sure many of you are familiar with, several years ago, the city did improvements to the entrance of MacArthur Park at the corner of 7th and Alvarado. And we really would like to build upon that and do something very similar at the entrance of Wilshire and Alvarado. This is the corner of the park, of course, where the boathouse used to be, and also where there is a kind of a small parking lot that intrudes into the park. So we really would like to reinvigorate that corner with new pathway, new landscaping, new seating, new lighting, to really make it a welcoming corner, just like the one at 7th and Alvarado. Provide new opportunities for people to sit, new opportunities for art, but really to just enhance that corner and help improve the park circulation and landscaping and lighting over there. Additionally, we're looking at renovating the southwest entry of the park. This is the corner at Parkview and 7th. So again, very similar with what we'd like to do at Wilshire and Alvarado, and as we did at 7th and Alvarado, we'd like to make enhancements to that corner of the park to make the entrance more welcoming and open, to provide better landscaping and seating, and as needed to look at the park pathways over there and the circulation patterns, just to make sure that that corner of the park is visible and open and welcoming from everyone. Along with that enhancement of those entries, we'd like to add a new children's playground to the southwest corner of the park, again, to the Parkview and 7th section. As I noted before, we already have 2 playgrounds, both located on the north side of the park, north of Wilshire. So we think we'd like to add a new playground to the southwest corner to bring families and activity to that corner, and to really provide some enhancements along with the opening of that with the entryway improvements. And then restrooms. Restrooms are another major item we'd like to address. So moving back to the other side of the park, one thing we'd like to do is to replace the existing freestanding restroom building that is on the Alvarado side of the park. So this is the restroom building that's between Wilshire and 6th. That's right on Alvarado Street. So we'd like to replace that restroom building with a new one. And we'll talk just in a moment about one of our ideas for that replacement. Additionally, we'd like to add 2 new restrooms, two new restroom buildings in MacArthur Park. One of those restroom buildings would again be located on the southwest corner of the park. So this would be incorporated into the proposed new entryway, landscaping, and play area. So we propose to put a new restroom over there because we know that side of the park is very far from a public restroom. So we think adding a new restroom in that area would be a good enhancement for that, again, along with the other amenities that are proposed. And last, we'd like to add another restroom or additional restroom facilities near the Levitt Pavilion. So we're very aware that that portion of the park is very heavily used, particularly on nice sunny weekends. It's busy with families and kids. And also when there's performances at the Levitt Pavilion, we know that sometimes we have to bring in portable restrooms. So the idea would be to add additional restroom capacity on that portion of the park somewhere by the Levitt Pavilion. Those are the major elements of the proposed project. And then just last, but certainly not least, we'd like to make general landscaping and lighting improvements in all these same areas of the park. Again, the entry areas that we've been talking about in and around the restrooms. And we'd like to add lighting everywhere we can in the park. Again, focusing on those major entry areas and where these new amenities would be placed. But as much as we can, we'd like to enhance the lighting in the park. We know that lighting helps provide a better sense of safety. It makes people feel more welcome. And on winters like this, where it gets dark early, we know that lights enable people to enjoy the park longer. So understanding that there have been desires to make the park more welcoming, we really strongly believe that better enhanced lighting, particularly in these entry corners, but as much as we can throughout the park, would make it for a better and more enjoyable experience. So that's just a brief summary of the scope. And then just very quickly, we have prepared a little map just to show you some of those ideas and sort of where they're located. So again, this just sort of gives a visual of where those would be. So as I noted, we'd like to add some new freestanding restrooms by the Levitt Pavilion. We'd like to replace the freestanding restroom in Alvarado, renovate the entrance of the park at Wilshire and Alvarado, make a lot of enhancements to the southwest entry of the park. Again, that's the Parkview and 7th Street entrance with a new entryway, new landscaping, new pathways, a new restroom, and a new play area, again, to really bring some activity to that corner of the park. And then finally, as I noted before, landscaping and lighting improvements in all of these areas and as much as we can throughout other areas of the park. Because again, we know that particularly with the lighting, that those additional safety enhancements would be well used and make the park, extend the life of the time people can be in the park. So just for today's meeting, I wanted to talk about two major elements of the proposed project. We discussed these actually in detail at our very last meeting, so we wanted to have another meeting to talk about them yet again because we know we got some really good feedback on those. So today we want to just dive in on two items. One is the restrooms, and the second is the proposed play area. Of course, we're here to discuss all the scope elements, not just these in particular, but for those of you who weren't in the last meeting, I wanted to take another opportunity to talk a little bit more about these proposed amenities because we think these are really some of the key items that we think will make this a very competitive application for the purposes of the state. So once again, looking at making significant restroom renovations in MacArthur Park with new freestanding restrooms in two portions of the park and the replacement of existing restroom. And this map again, just for another time, just shows where those restroom enhancements are proposed to be. And again, please just note the arrows are general. I mean, obviously, if we receive a grant from the state, we're successful in that. As the project moves through a design process, this will become more definitive, but the arrows are just to give you a general idea of where we think they should be located. One of the things we're looking at for MacArthur Park is an exciting new technology that we are using in one of our other parks in the city and that we are moving forward with deploying in multiple other areas. And this is an automated restroom that is called an Exalu restroom, but the key thing is, that's just the brand name, but the key thing is this is a self-cleaning automated restroom. And we've recently installed one, well, about a year ago, we installed one of these at North Hollywood Park in the Valley. It's been very successful. And we think that this potentially could be a good solution for MacArthur Park. So I'll just talk briefly about the Exalu restroom itself, what it does, why we like the technology. But again, this is a conversation about MacArthur Park and whether or not we think that an Exalu would be a good solution for that. So as you see on the screen again, just very briefly, we installed an Exalu public restroom in North Hollywood Park back in 2019 in August. So we've had it a little over a year. So we have some some good data and experience with that restroom. The one we have at MacArthur Park, as you can see in the picture, or sorry, excuse me, at North Hollywood Park, has two single occupancy restrooms. So just two single stalls for one occupancy each, and they're fully ADA compliant. One of the important things about this restroom, this Exelou automated restroom, is that it is a self-cleaning restroom. So just to talk briefly about what that means. So the Exelou is a restroom that has, again, it's programmed to clean itself after every use. So, and additionally, after a certain number of occupancies, it'll has a sort of a total cleaning cycle. It'll clean the floor again. So it is a restroom that has auto wash functions that will help keep the restroom clean and sanitary. So the important thing to note, though, of course, is that it still does need to be serviced by people. So it's not a restroom where it'll completely eliminate our need to service it with our maintenance staff, but it will help provide a safe and hygienic answer to some of our really stretched maintenance resources. So we think that an Exelou would both help with providing better restroom capacity at MacArthur Park, but also provide some features that'll help keep those restrooms cleaner, and features that will help keep those restrooms from being misused by folks. So I'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. But the last major feature about the Exelou, and this is just sort of some of the things that we really like about it, is it's really technology based. It provides us, the city, with a lot of information about how it's being used and when it's being used. It communicates with us through a web-based internet platform and gives us reports on what's happening with the restroom. So kind of as an easy example of it, if the restroom notices that there's a part that's broken or that it's having an issue, it's able to alert us, and we're able to see that remotely, so that it's not something that folks have to call in every time and say, hey, there's an issue with the restroom. The restroom itself will tell us a lot of that details as well. So again, we think the technology will help make our maintenance staff more efficient, and it'll also help us kind of keep stretching our limited resources while providing better restroom facilities for the community. So as I noted again, we have one of these installed in North Hollywood, and we are actually moving forward with installing these in 5 other parks. So we are moving aggressively to install the Exelou restroom in a number of facilities, and we think that MacArthur Park would be another good location for that. So again, just kind of diving into a little bit more details about the Exelou. So and again, this is just some information about it. On the screen, on the image on the right, just a really quick snapshot of some of that data that we get. So, again, for example, the Exelou will tell us when it's being used and how often and how frequently. So it tells us, again, sort of by the hour of the day, when is it getting the most use? And this helps us, again, better understand when we need to deploy maintenance staff and resources to that restroom, so that we are going to that restroom and we're maintaining it during those peak hours. That data really, again, helps us become more efficient and understand more about the environment at the park and how often these things are being used. But I wanted to just quickly highlight 4 key things about the Exelou. One, again, the Exelou is really designed to serve a variety of user groups. So again, with those single 88 stalls, which all have, of course, baby changing stations in them, the Exelou is well suited for an environment like this. And again, the data that we have from North Hollywood shows that it's heavily used across the board. And the one we have in North Hollywood is in a very active area of the park. So again, we think that the Exelou would be a good solution for that. But it's made for everyone, and it is fully ADA compliant, which is really wonderful. The second key point is that it really provides a hygienic and accessible restroom for everybody. And this is a very key and important point. We know that when you're in a park or you're there with your family, you want to stay longer if you have a clean and accessible restroom to use. And the restrooms do get dirty, and the maintenance staff can only attend to those restrooms at certain times. And the Exelou, again, with some of its automated cleaning features, will help to make sure those restrooms stay cleaner longer. They'll still need to be serviced, like I said, by staff, but we think they'll help reduce some of that contamination that comes from that, and again, some of that kind of moves out into the street and areas around the restroom. So we think it'll be a more hygienic solution to the restroom needs at MacArthur Park. And those restrooms, as we all know, are very, very heavily used. The third key point is that the restroom will prevent residency in those facilities. So just to be straightforward, the restroom is designed to give you a warning that if you're in there for 10 minutes, it gives you a very audible warning before your 10-minute time period is up in the restroom, and will set off an alarm and then open the door. So it's designed to not let people habitate in the restroom and to take up residency in there. So again, we know that a lot of our restrooms across the city have that challenge where people will loiter or stay in the restrooms for long periods of times doing a variety of things, but the XLU is designed to make that a very uncomfortable experience and to tell people to essentially do their business and move on. So it does have features that will prevent people from taking up residency inside the restroom. So again, that loiter alarm that goes off after 10 minutes is, and the warning it gives you, it's very audible. So it's really designed to tell people to kind of do their business and to move on. So we think that'll also help with some of the issues we have in some of our restroom facilities that prevent people from taking up residency in there. And then again, finally, like I've said a number of times, we think it'll help us manage our operational resources much more efficiently. It'll give us better data about when we need to be in the restroom and service the restroom. It'll give us better data on issues that may be happening at the restroom so that we can respond to those. And just speaking quite frankly, in a time like this where resources will be even more strapped and staff will be even more limited, these types of restrooms will help ensure that the facilities at MacArthur Park stay as hygienic as possible and clean as possible. So we know, like you do, we want to provide the best facilities that we can, and we think the XLU, given our current environment and sort of the usage of the restrooms at MacArthur Park, would potentially be a good solution for that. So that's some of the highlights of this this exciting automated technology. Again, we're here to get your input on that. We did hear some comments at the previous meetings with some potential concerns about the XLU restroom, but we think it would be a good technology. But of course, again, we're here today to talk to you about what you think. And so we just wanted to share that about the XLU restroom again as a potential solution. So the second major thing we wanted to focus on again for this meeting is the new playground that's proposed for the southwest corner of the park at Parkview and 7th. So as I noted earlier in the presentation, we're proposing to renovate that southwest entry of the park. Again, landscaping, lighting, pathway improvements, and to add a new play area and a new restroom to that area to, again, make it a really active corner of the park. So the playground is, we think, is the key element over there to really activate that corner. So what I'll show you today are again, just is a concept that was prepared for this corner playground. So the department works very closely with a number of national vendors, playground vendors and companies that help us design playgrounds. So we've worked with one to develop a very conceptual idea for what a playground could look like over here in the corner, the southwest corner of the park. So the important thing to take from this is what we're sharing is just a concept, and it's just to give you an idea of the types of things that can be done. As Stephen had noted earlier, there will be a survey about some questions about themes. By no means what you'll see for the playground here is a finalized theme for it. It's just one theme that we came up with the vendor. But the idea is really to show you that we have the capacity working with those companies to really develop a variety of different things. So this one is very unique, but we want to go ahead and show you that, both to give you an idea of kind of spatially what it could look like over there, a playground potentially. But please note that any design of the playground would come if and when we receive funding, and it would have a more detailed process. So we'd have a lot of time if we were successful in getting the grant to really working with the community to hone in on what you think of a playground. Again, that's an element you want, what you think a playground could look like. So this is just a very conceptual rendering of a playground at that corner of the park. You can kind of see in this image the lake behind it. So again, to kind of just orient you. And then of course, all the commercial buildings that are along Alvarado are kind of shown in the distance here. But this is the idea, is that we could put a playground that could serve both older kids and younger kids over in that corner of the park and really kind of make it fit into the landscaping over there. So I'll walk you through just really quickly this kind of unique layout and design. But again, this is really to spark a discussion about some of the things we can do over there. So in this conceptual rendering, the idea would be that you'd have two sort of distinct play areas, one for the older kids and one for the younger kids. Again, the theming of it, the layout of it, all of that is to be determined and to work with the community if we're successful. But this is just to show you an idea that we think, like with a lot of our more modern playgrounds, having good separation between maybe some of the younger kid elements and the elements for the older kids makes for a well-used play space. But this is to show you sort of a conceptual layout for what something like that could look like for those different play spaces. And again, imagine in the future, if we're successful with the grant, we would have new pathways and new landscaping and new lighting in these areas to really tie them together. So the next couple of slides, this is just a rendering of what this particular playground would look like. Again, this is designed to kind of show to you in context of what it would look like if you're facing to the south towards the intersection of Parkview and 7th. So this particular theme, again, not a finalized theme, but this particular theme is towards the history of MacArthur Park, named, of course, after General Douglas MacArthur. So it has a very World War II kind of military theme to it. But again, by no means a finalized theme, but just it's really designed to show you that our vendors can do a variety of really unique things. So this particular element here, you can kind of see as a ship. You can see even the play surfacing is themed, so it looks kind of like water and sand, like a beach. And then the playground itself, the main structure is on, the green area, so kind of the grass. But kind of to show you, like, again, what a theme could be for a playground, and really to show you spatially kind of what it could look like from that corner. And if you're, again, familiar with it, you can see in the distance here, those little brown circles, that's designed to show you where the clock is, right? So the piece of artwork in the corner where the clock is, and those round circles. So that's kind of, again, just to show you preliminarily what a layout could look like sort of from the ground level. And then just going through the next slide, again, it's just another visual of what a playground could look like there in that corner, again, with the same theme. Themes can always be changed, but just designed to show you kind of spatially what something like that could look like. And then another close-up image of what was the smaller kids' play area, which in this theme were themed as little airplanes. So you can see there on the left side of the screen, a little bit of an airplane theme. But there's a lot of opportunities if we're successful to working out what that could look like. So again, moving forward, just a couple more images of that, just to show you again what those little airplanes could look like if that's a theme we go with for MacArthur Park. And then also, again, another shot of what on the left side of the screen, what a potential layout for a playground could be. So with a lot of our, as you know, or you may be familiar with some of our more modern playgrounds, a lot of different elements we can include, from climbing elements to ropes to spinners to musical elements. There's a wide variety of things we can do for a playground, but we wanted to, again, just kind of show you some images to, keep the thoughts going and to give you some ideas to think about and to bounce off with us about some themes that may work, but also, again, just to show you that spatially, we think a playground would fit very well over here. And then just finally, lastly, this slide here is just another kind of conceptual rendering of what that particular playground layout could look like on the landscape there. So on the left is sort of an enhanced image of it, and on the right shows it in context with the southwest corner of the park, the Parkview and 7th corner. So that playground that we were showing you, we think would fit very nicely even within the current layout of the pathways that are over there, kind of right into the opening space. So as you walk into the park, you pass the artwork, you come up to the playground, and from there you'd have a great vantage point over the lake. Be a very visible space, and would work very well with the topography and the trees that are already over in that area. So again, this is really designed to show you that we think that in this corner of the park, there is great space and opportunity for a play area like that. And again, if we're successful in getting this grant, a variety of different themes and different things we can do and different layouts to that playground. But again, just designed to show you some context for what it could look like and how it could be laid out, just to spark more discussion and conversation as we go forward with our grant application. So that was a very quick summary of some of the things that we've proposed, some of the things that we've heard, and some of the ideas that we have for the park. Again, as we had noted earlier in the presentation, we've heard already some comments on different playground themes and questions about the restrooms and other potential elements that could be added to the application, or maybe substitute it for some of the things that we've proposed. But we're here today to get your input and your feedback and answer any questions that we can. And I just want to say personally, just thank you. I know that it's Saturday morning for a community meeting. Everyone has lots of things to do and wants to enjoy their weekend. So we really are appreciative of you taking time to be with us today to talk about this wonderful opportunity. I'll stop there.
Thank you, Daryl. And just a reminder, if you haven't done so, please sign in. And if you cannot find a link, please ask and Yumi will provide the link for you. So we have received a number of questions, and please keep the questions coming, as we are, answering them at this time. So I'll just read off the first one that I'm seeing from our chat box. And we're going to be actually answering questions from Zoom as well as Facebook as well. So I'll start out first from Zoom.
Stephen.
So first, yes.
Sorry, this is Bill Jones. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for your participation today. I just wanted to check with Steve, and there seemed to be a lot of questions regarding the art and the design elements. And I wanted to find out before we get started on the questions and answers, is there a link or in the chat box, can people post a photo or a design element that they may be interested in, or to sort of give us ideas of how or the types of design that they would like to incorporate? That's all.
Well, thanks, Bill. Actually, you know what? I've never tried to actually upload or actually attach anything. Certainly, what you can do, let's say if someone is interested in essentially sending us anything, maybe not through the chat box, we will provide you with our emails at the end, so you can go ahead and send us, your designs or your ideas through there if it's not being accommodated through the chat box.
And Stephen, if I may, also, this is not the last meeting that we're gonna have. I mean, I think that you can continue, giving us this input. I think it's very valuable input, what you just said about, I think I saw something about bringing the Central American and Mexican communities that they also have been like influential, and they also have like, they're a big part of the park, and how we can also put together some elements of that. So I think that this is not the last meeting. I think that when we have like the next meetings that we have, I think it will be important also to continue having this conversation. So just wanted to reiterate that this is not the last meeting. We're still gonna have more meetings about this.
Yes, thank you, Luis. So just, yes, this is a process of engagement. So we're interested in finding out what ideas you have. Certainly at this point, this is meeting number 3. And so we'd like to just collect ideas at this time. And please feel free to, email us on other suggestions and ideas on themes. But we certainly in future meetings, we can delve deeper into some of the themes that the community is interested in.
Hey, Stephen, this is Daryl. I just wanted to chime in on something real quick for everyone listening and participating. And again, as everyone noted, this is an iterative process, so we'll keep taking your input to help develop something. So part of what we'll do on our end is, I think after this meeting, is we'll start to work as staff to develop an actual concept to show folks in more detail beyond just these big picture ideas, what a potential layout could look like for these different improvements to delve down into to get more detailed feedback. So just to note that all the feedback that you're giving us is going to enable us to start to develop and hone in on a conceptual drawing for these improvements that we can then share again with the community. So again, any input that you give us would help us in that direction and help us kind of move this process along. And as everyone again noted, we'll keep taking in input, but we're trying to help get some good input that'll help us focus our attention on the key things we need to include in our concept as we start to prepare it to share with you.
Thank you, Daryl. So we're delving into the questions. So the first question is, so if I'm more concerned on the lake, then I'm on the wrong netting, correct? Well, as Daryl has mentioned earlier, this project, this that we are proposing to the state is not going to be on the lake. The Department of Rec and Parks is not managing that project. It is, the Public Works, what used to be Bureau of Sanitation, and maybe, Daryl, you can delve further into that.
Hi, yes, again, it's Daryl Ford. So I think what I'll do is, I don't know if the question was on the Zoom platform or not, but The Department of LA Sanitation and Environment does have an email address for their Safe Clean Water program, and I will go ahead and try to chat that into the chat box. But yes, this meeting is focused on the Proposition 68 proposed elements. I know that the LA Sanitation team is hoping to start doing some outreach for their project early next year. But we'll go ahead and put their contact for their Safe Clean Water program into the chat box. Let me go ahead and do that now.
Also, Daryl, if I may, our office is also working with the Department of Sanitation, just like we're doing meetings about this with RAP. We're also going to be doing meetings, community meetings starting next year. So if you're interested in we're going to put a flyer together and we're going to start doing the outreach. So you want to be also part of that, or you want to interested also in providing, input on the lake renovation. I put my email on the chat box. So just look at my email, send me an email, and I'll make sure that you receive the information once we're ready for that.
Thank you. So next question, greetings. We would like to see local artists, youth artists, and community members engaged in the design process for incorporating art into the designs. Thank you. This is from Beth at LA Commons. Daryl, is there a process that have we done this before?
Sorry, I'll go ahead and chime in then.
Yeah.
So the answer is what will happen is if we are successful in receiving the grant, what we need to provide to the state as a part of our application is in fact that is some input from the community about the types of artwork you'd like to see in the park. So maybe as an example, the spark, maybe some additional questions would be, say for example, that one of the art elements could be, since we're proposing to put in additional seating in the park, would there be some support for putting in, say, like a seat wall that has art on the wall, or the bench itself is an artistic bench? So there are a lot of opportunities for something like that, elements like that, or other types of elements. It'd be good for us to hear from you guys, everyone on this meeting today, or again, after this meeting, some different ways you think we could incorporate art into either directly into the design and the layout of the amenities that we're proposing, or where you'd like us to create features and opportunities for additional art. Not for this project, but for others, we've had examples of where we've done mural walls, again, or we've done mosaic tiles inlaid into a walkway, or artwork that's incorporated into a bench. There's a lot of different ways we could do that. We would certainly be working with our Department of Cultural Affairs as a part of this process. As I think many of you may be familiar, they do have a program where they help us to identify local artists to help incorporate artwork. So certainly working with our Department of Cultural Affairs is another way to do that. So it was a long way of saying we'd love some ideas and some input on how we can incorporate spaces and elements in the park that will lend themselves to those future opportunities to partner with the community to do additional public artwork.
Thank you. Okay. And thanks, Bill, for providing your input on with some of these questions. Let's see. Would it be possible to send out your emails to all who attended? This will help all to give better feedback. Certainly at the end of the PowerPoint, we will post all of our emails so you can contact us. And Luis is also providing his email address in the chat box. Yeah, and you can see that luis.e.gonzalez@lacity.org. What are the features for ADA and senior leisure inclusion?
Hi, this is Daryl again. So particularly I'll take the ADA portion. So as a part of the application, of course, any of the work that we do in the park would be compliant with ADA requirements. So part of our goal would be to make sure that pathways that are improved or built are all fully compliant with the ADA requirements and regulations. that the restroom facilities would, of course, be fully compliant with ADA requirements so that they are fully accessible to users. So those elements certainly will be fully compliant with ADA. To the question about senior leisure items, I think that's a great question. So if you have maybe a follow-up suggestion of some things we can incorporate in for senior leisure, we'd love to hear those, just to give maybe some ideas to spark that. I know in some of our other projects, we've done things like outdoor fitness stations that can be used by people of all ages and abilities. So we've certainly done things like that. But if there are other ideas that you have for senior leisure that you'd like to share with us, please do. I think that's why we're here today, to hear from you about the additional things that may make a good inclusion into the application. So look forward to any suggestions or thoughts you may have for us today so that we can look into those and help build on those.
Thanks, Daryl. And so our survey has a section, it's the last section where you can provide any other feedback you'd like. And also, because we are uploading this video to our YouTube page, you can certainly continue to provide comments via the comment function. And what we'll do is that we'll provide a link to the survey on our YouTube page as well. So if you know other people who want to complete that survey, you can go ahead and let them know. Thanks, Daryl, for providing the email address for the LA Sanitation and Environment. Another comment and question. I apologize if this was already said, but I was only able to join now. Is there a way to see the presentation and give suggestions on the website or via email? Thank you. So I just let you know that this presentation, this meeting is available for viewership both on Facebook and YouTube. And Yumi will provide the link for you. And as I said, you will be able to participate further via the chat box in now and also during when we post the YouTube video. So there are many opportunities to be to let your voices heard in this process. And thank you, Yumi, for providing all those links. Okay, I'm going to go to another box. Okay, so someone said, no, Rod had an excellent suggestion. And then another question, are there any plans to renovate the rec center?
Hi, again, it's Daryl Ford. So we were not proposing at this time for the Proposition 68 application to include recreation center improvements as a part of the scope. So just as sort of some context and background for that, if we are successful in receiving the Proposition 68 grant, we will only have a few years in order to implement the work under that grant. So one of the things we are always keenly focused on is making sure that we are developing project scopes that enable us to meet the state's requirements and deliver the projects in a timely fashion. So as all of us, I think, are very familiar, the recreation center building is a little bit on the older side and could certainly need a number of different improvements in there. And I think as a lot of us know, with older buildings, as you start to do some work, you generally find there to be more work that needs to be done. So we have, with our Proposition 68 applications, not just for MacArthur Park, but across the ones we submitted last year and that we're proposing to submit this year, really tried to focus on exterior landscaping and outdoor improvements that can be delivered easily with city forces and city contract vendors. Again, the idea is to do elements that we can deliver in a timely fashion and ones that we can make immediate and important impacts. So we are trying to focus on those. And just the last point to that is that the Proposition 68 grant only allows us to apply for a total of $8.5 million. So potentially, and I'm not saying that there's a dollar figure at all associated with it, but potentially building improvements can be a lot more costly. So again, part of the thought process was the best bang for our buck, to use the phrase, is to focus on the outdoor improvements. All that said, if you have particular suggestions about improvements in the recreation center building, the community center building that we have there, please do leave those with us. I mean, there are other funding sources that could potentially be available to us to make those improvements. They're not as significant or as large as Proposition 68, but we would like to hear your input on the building if you believe there's improvements there. So please do share those with us if there are recommendations that the community has about needed improvements at the building. We'll make sure to track those as a part of the input we got as this project, but we do want to hear any and all of your suggestions for improvements in the park, whether they can make it into this application or not.
Thank you, Daryl. Okay. I just want to read off another, just one comment, which Bill has provided an answer for, but, greetings. Would it be possible to create a local artist-led, community-engaged design process for the public art component? LA Commons and Kerosene and other organizations have been collaborating with MacArthur Park for many years to involve youth, young adults, and community members in designing and creating temporary works of public art in MacArthur Park. It would be great to include this kind of process and partnerships in the public art process. And Daryl had already chimed in, earlier, and Bill had provided an answer. So Beth, if you want to ask any follow-up questions, please feel free to do so. Just going to wait for maybe a few more questions to come in. Yumi, do we have any questions on Facebook?
I am not seeing any questions on the Facebook Live currently.
Okay. We'll just wait a minute and see if anybody has any additional questions. Okay, I see one here. How are you addressing the needs of the persons who are living in the park? So I'll just first start addressing this. So we are here today, and this meeting is on Prop 68 and MacArthur Park. So the grant, is a grant for renovations and capital project renovation. So what's eligible for the grant, is essentially capital project improvement. So as Daryl has mentioned in his proposed project scope, we are adding, restrooms. We are also, adding a new playground. So these are the types of capital improvement that will, that may be funded by the grant. We realize, that some of the needs that are, that are being addressed by the community may be well beyond the intention of the grant, and this meeting may not be there to solve all of them, address and solve all of these needs, but what we are hoping is that the renovation to the park, in the infrastructure improvement, will provide the community with a more enjoyable and a safer park.
Also, if I would like to expand on that, Stephen, if I may.
Yes, please.
I know that, right now with COVID, it's been a very challenging time for everyone, especially for those that are on house right now. What we are doing right now, and with the help of the department, but also with some community partners, is trying to provide them at least with essentials, and making sure that the park and the area around there is clean, and also that they have the basic needs like showers, like medical attention. We are working with some of the partners there too, into trying to establish a plan on how we can help them, for those that they are ready to move to a better place, or once COVID is, all the COVID restrictions are lifted, what will be the plan for that? So looking forward if you have any ideas as well, like so they can, you have my email and we can talk more in detail about it.
Thank you, Luis. One comment is new playground is worthless and will not be used, just like the second playground, which is wasted space. Well, thank you for your comment. This is why we're here to elicit, to provide you with the opportunity to comment on this project.
Hey, Stephen, this is Daryl, and I guess to the question or commenter, just the question would be then, do you have other suggestions for other types of recreational improvements that you think would be favorably used if you don't think a playground would be one appropriate? So if you have any suggestions, we'd love to hear what those may be.
Thank you. I think we have answered the questions. Do you see anything else, Yumi?
I do not see anything on Facebook Live, but if I may, if you all have a moment to please register or complete the survey if you have not already done so, and the links have been provided in the chat box.
Okay. Well, this concludes today's meeting. This was our third meeting for Proposition 68 and MacArthur Park. We hope to gather again for another meeting, and we invite you to come back, and we'll be working with Luis and Council District 1 to set other meetings, to schedule other meetings, so that you will be provided other opportunities to provide your feedback on our proposal for Prop 68 funding. Luis, would you like to say anything in addition?
Yeah, and thank you so much, Stephen, for this. Well, again, this is a time to provide us with feedback. If you think that something is not going to work for the park, please let us know. And if you have any alternatives or other suggestions, please let us know about that. You have my email. I also would like to thank the members of the Neighborhood Council, MacArthur Park, and also Westlake South, that they were in attendance today and they provide us really good feedback. So I'm looking forward to working with you in getting like a better, understanding of the needs that they need the park. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Luis. And so this concludes our Prop 68 meeting for this Saturday, November 14th. We're very thankful for the community members who have tuned in today to hear us out and provide your feedback. We welcome you to another meeting, a future meeting to be determined, and wish you guys a very good rest of the afternoon and a wonderful Thanksgiving. Thank you very much.